What was your life situation in September 2001 on the 11th?
Um, my husband and I, your dad, were living actually, I was living in Pennsylvania and he was living in Massachusetts. We were in the process of moving, and you weren't born yet.
Before before this day in history, 9/11, what was your understanding of terrorism, Al Qaeda, and Bin Laden, or Osama bin Laden, if I'm being professional?
I had never heard of Al Qaeda or Osama bin Laden. Um, I remember uh, the previous attack on the World Trade Center in the 90s. There was a bomb there before. I remember that, but I don't remembering anything about Osama bin Laden or Al Qaeda.
Where were you and what were you doing when you first heard about the events that unfolded that day?
I was working at Kohl's, where I worked, and was just working on the sales floor, and someone came running out and said that a plane had hit the World Trade Center. And then throughout the day, we heard more and more news reports. At that time, I lived only about an hour from New York City, and so it was very scary at that point because planes were going down all around us, and it was pretty terrifying.
How did you exactly feel in that situation other than just being scared?
Um, Worried. We had a lot of associates at the store that had family members that worked in Manhattan, and they didn't know where they were. We couldn't get the phone. My phone lines were down for a couple of days, so I couldn't even call back here to Illinois to let people know that I was safe. Um, it was just a really worrying time, and just very uncertain. Everything was very uncertain, and we just didn't really know what was going to happen next.
From your perspective, how did people in your community react to 9/11?
Um, I think because we were so close, we had a lot of people that didn't know if they had family members that had survived or not. We all kind of banded together and went out to eat and watched the news coverage together, and just tried to support one another until we found out information, which was taking a really long time for some people.
How has the United States changed since 9/11? Do you think our country has recovered from this event?
I think that before 9/11, we thought that something like this couldn't happen here in the United States.
I,
This was something that happened like in other countries, but here, we just, that kind of thing, who would dare to do that? But I think now we know that we are, like everyone else, vulnerable to those kind of attacks. And I think that we have pulled together very well and made a lot of adjustments to our daily lives that we, like going through the airport and all kinds of things like that. I don't remember what the second half was.
I agree with you. Uh, I don't mean to be offensive, but I think it was quite arrogant of us to assume that other countries and terrorist organizations would exclude us just because of our military power.
Indeed, I agree.
We should have had safe. We should have had fail safes happen in case this kind of situation ever were to occur again.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
How has your own life or attitude changed since 9/11?
Um, I don't think about it on a daily level for the most part, but on 9/11, I do really think about how much things are different here, and just what a turning point it was in our country. It was a sad, scary time that I think we were all feeling very vulnerable at that point. Um, but I think for the most part, we've rebounded back.
All right. How do you think the media, international and also local media, have changed due to this event?
Well, I know the media. I mean, at the time there was a lot of media coverage of the bomb. The planes crashing into the Trade Center. I don't know if it's really changed that much since then, but it was definitely heavily covered in the media.
Yeah. International and national shows and media were actually censored and put through multiple checks due to trauma from 9/11, including and not limited to anime, normal animation, Chinese animation, and pretty much all animation and media in itself was changed due to that event.
Okay.
Which is quite surprising. In my opinion, other countries before 9/11 had suffered through events like this, but it was our country that resulted in such a monumental change with the media. Huh. How do you think people in this day and age would react to another attack like the Twin Towers in 9/11?
I think probably very similar to the way we reacted on 9/11. I think people would pull together as they always do whenever there's a crisis. People are always willing to go out and help others when in times of need like that. I don't know how that would affect security measures in our country. Maybe they would get tighter. Maybe we would lose less freedom from, being observed and whatnot from our country.
Thank you. That concludes this interview.